bookworms, bookwalkers and Greek mythology lovers. Today we're doing a video on Dionysus. God, and he was known as the Greek god of wine. Before he was known as the Greek god of wine, he was known as the Greek god of fertility and also sort of letting go, being free, pleasure, all of that kind of stuff. So not kind of a romantic god, but more of a pleasure god. Not so much sex and stuff, but wine, relaxing, pleasure, that kind of vibe. His Roman name is... Okay, so he is a Greek god of wine, okay? So his father is... Drumroll, can we name the god who fathered him? Zeus. Father pretty much everyone. So he is, again, one of the 13 Olympians. His mother was called Semele, and she was a daughter of a king of Thebes. So she was a mortal, which meant that he didn't automatically get that kind of Greek god status, whereas Hermes, for example, because I've just done a video on him, he would have had more of a status because his mother was a daughter of a titan and she was a nymph. So to be a mortal, the status wasn't as high as something with abilities. Yeah, let's just call it abilities. So how was he created? So again, I feel like I repeat myself. I feel like I should just have a video of me saying the same thing and just slotting it into every single video. I'd be wearing something different every time I do it. But basically, Hera found out about another affair that her husband, Zeus, who was so faithful to her, decided to... I don't even want to say. He just had another affair on her and then had a child, and again it wasn't one of Hera's children. So what did Hera do with her punishment for the poor innocent mortal who didn't know what Zeus was, Semele? She decided to say to Semele, hey, I've got a lover. Apparently he's a god. Like, do you know what his godly powers are? And Semele's like, no, I don't know what his powers are. And Hera's like, why don't you ask him? Like, if he loves you that much, like, you're having his baby, like, if he loves you, he will literally show you his true form. So Semele says to Zeus, hey, can you show me your true form? And Zeus is like, oh, okay. And as we know, the gods are very strong and powerful. Like, they can't show you their true form, because what happens? Because he shows the true form, she looks up at him, she can't handle the true form, lightning bolts come down and he kills her. And like, he doesn't mean to, it's technically Hera's fault, but then Zeus shouldn't have been cheating on her, and it's like, Semele dies. So what does he do? A bit like with Athena, he takes the baby, puts him in his thigh, births him in his thigh, and becomes his father and mother at the same time, which is what he did to Athena's mum Metis. Like, oh my god, like, Zeus is like the ultimate seahorse. Like, you know how a seahorse will be pregnant with all these babies and she'll go to the male seahorse and be like, pff, and then give him all the babies and he gives birth, and you just see it looks very uncomfortable because it just looks weird and wrong. He's basically a seahorse. Zeus, the Greek god of seahorses, literally, he birthed his own children himself. Like, that's quite good, I don't know, quite cool. So yeah, so she found out about that and he birthed him from his thigh. So he again had over like 20 children, mortal as well. We're going to quickly go through those. I'm not going to name them all. I've written down literally 3 that I saw was important. So we have one called Hymenaeus, who is the goddess of weddings. We have Methe, who was the nymph of drunkenness, and we have Plantos, who was Argonaut on the island of Thasos, and he was the son of his wife. Her in a second, because he is his actual bride, and they married. So he had many lovers. I've written them down. So we have his actual bride that we just spoke about, which we'll get to in a second because that's one of his important stories. We also have a Colanthidian queen. We have Aphrodite as well, and the goddess Aura. So Aphrodite, they together had a child called Priapos, and because of her being horrible, Aphrodite, and Hera hating her, and well, being horrible in the sense that Hera didn't like her for some reason, she cursed their childhood to be ugly. Which is funny, because Aphrodite is the most beautiful goddess, so to have an ugly child would have been a very, very bad insult. Yeah, not very nice, Aphrodite. We also have Aura. Now, this is a story that I don't like about Dionysus, and when they kind of pop up, I find it very uncomfortable and very hard to sort of talk about. We know that Zeus is very much like it, so we kind of expect that for him. Doesn't mean it's right, but we expect these things because of all the stories we have. But when it pops up out of nowhere, and I wasn't expecting it, I'm a bit like, oh, no, I don't like that god. So Aura was a virgin Titan goddess, and she was goddess of the breeze. And she bore him 2 sons after Dionysus assaulted her. So he assaulted her and she had 2 sons. One she birthed in anger, so he became more like bad, and one she birthed not so in anger, but she gave them both up. So that was a bit of a sad story when I found that out. But the most famous one that he has had, and that is his most famous story, apart from his birth being birthed from the thigh, is Ariadne. So she was the daughter of Minos, who was the king of Crete, and a little bit of story about that. So we have Theseus, who went to Crete to fight the Minotaur, because Minos had a Minotaur in his maze, and he decided to go and slay that Minotaur, and he actually had the help of his Ariadne, and along with the golden string, he found his way, slayed the Minotaur, and fled with his daughter, and she got in his ship and they sailed off, and they went off to an island, Naxos. When they were sleeping, Theseus literally left her stranded on this island, and she was just there like, what the hell are you doing? I literally helped you, I saved your life. And it's kind of like, if you don't want to be with me, you just kind of say that, but don't leave me stranded, like, what are you doing? But luckily, Dionysus, Bacchus, was there, and he saw her and he saved her and made him his bride, and together they went off and they had children until she, some stories say, got killed by Artemis. Yeah, but they had a good life and they were happy, and he did save her, which is very good. Another little thing about him is he was not god of travellers, but he travelled around a lot. So when he was born, Zeus kept him away from like Hera and all the gods and goddesses, and he kept him with some nymphs in the mountains, and they raised him as their own, looked after him and everything. Because he was kind of like free, relaxed, I would imagine him to be like a hippie in that way, like travelling around and enjoying life and being free, part of nature and all of that kind of thing. So he's travelled around to India, he travelled all around Europe and like Asia, and he went back to Greece, and he learnt all different cultures and different spirits and different ways of the world and what they believed in, and was very free with the world, like a hippie and like a traveller. And when he went back to Greece, he had his own cult and he was quite free. And if you've ever watched Umbrella Academy, Klaus, that's how I would imagine Dionysus to be, very foot-free, fancy-free, footloose, fancy-free, that's the term. So yeah, he was very interesting like that. I think he was a fun god, apart from the little story that we found out about him. He was a fun, relaxed, chilled, laid-back god. Yeah, so that's quite interesting to learn about that. And just quickly, I have actually got a book by Liv Albert here for you to check out. This is not sponsored, I just really like Liv Albert, and I've been going by her Greek Mythology one, which is the order of the gods I'm talking about from here, and I am using this as a little bit of inspiration with stories, so it's really, really good, so go check her out, she's awesome. Why did I say awesome? She's so good, like, I really like her. But the one I want to show you about quickly, just while we're talking about Dionysus, it's called Nectar of the Gods, and it's got cocktails and different alcoholic recipes from the gods. So I want to really talk about that here. So if we can find the one that I wanted to show you, it was Dionysus's. Here we go. The cocktail, if the cocktail had a patron god, it would be Dionysus Bacchus, as he is also known as a god of wine, theatre, rivalry, and to put into modern terms, partying. He was the enigmatic god with a fluidity of gender not to be found among the divine. He's said to have come from the east and have spontaneously been born to Zeus and a mortal woman of the city of Thebes. He was the most accessible god, sometimes greatly aided by the fact that he was also about imbibing his notable invention, wine. While he is the most well known for his wine, there's no doubt he would have been a connoisseur of all cocktails today, particularly those with beloved grapes. So this one has got like a little recipe in here about him and what to do. So it's got other ones in here. It's got hurricane. I've not actually made any of these yet, and I do really need to. Persephone's pomegranate punch. Like, I think they're really cool, so I thought I'd mention this book that I thought was really cool while I'm doing the god of basically alcohol. So there we go. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and please comment down below if there's anything that you want me to like bump up, like if you want me to do a video on a Greek god that I've not done yet so far. I mean, I am going to get through them all. It's just if you're impatient and you want that god done, let me know and I'll bump it up and do that as soon as I can, or as soon as I see the message. But yeah, until then, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.